Hello folks, now since we know all about EC2 instances, about some of its features, payment options, let's go on and create an EC2 instance. Just to remind you, EC2 instance is nothing but a virtual machine on AWS cloud. You might ask me, why do we call it virtual machine and not exactly a server? Now technically, EC2 instance actually is a virtual machine because over the data centers, over the infrastructure that AWS has, there is a hypervisor running over and above. You can also refer to as a virtualization layer. So when you request for an EC2 instance, you give proper configuration etc. there, say the instance type, the network in which you have to create. That virtualization layer allocates a resource for you in the data centers of the AWS, reserves that space and gives you back proper information so you can connect to those resources directly. Now your EC2 instance may be sharing the same hardware with other machines, other EC2 instances, or from EC2 instances from other AWS account itself. And that's why we call it virtual machine and not exactly a server. Having said that, functionality wise, these EC2 instances or whatever you call it, virtual machine etc., they have almost exact features like your server which is kept in your on-premise. So without further ado, let's go and launch an EC2 instance. Log into your AWS web console. Under compute you will find EC2. Click on that and you will reach to EC2 dashboard. Now I have already got 2 instances running here. If you have a new account, you will get all these resources as 0. To create your instance, you will be clicking on the launch instance. Now at the first step, you have to select the kind of operating system you want to have on your EC2 instance. Again, we don't directly call it operating system because it can be more than that. It could be operating system plus some application. It could be third-party product. It could be image of your already existing servers. So as a generic term, we call it Amazon Machine Image, AMI in short. Having said that, if you want say an operating system like Windows or Red Hat or Ubuntu or SUSE Linux, almost whatever you want, you will find that as a AMI here. Now if you have your own AMI, which means you have made an image of your existing EC2 instance and saved it, you will find it here. We'll see how to create an image later on. On AWS Marketplace, you will find a lot of products which are basically third-party software products hosted by AWS Marketplace. So for example, if you want to launch an instance with Matillion ETL for Amazon Redshift already installed, you can go for this one, select this and go on and launch your EC2 instance. In that case, you'll find an instance where this particular product is already installed. So suppose you have created your own application and you want to sell it on AWS Marketplace, you can contact AWS and register your product here. So every time somebody launches an EC2 instance, they will get an option to select your product and launch an EC2 instance with your product already configured on that. But be aware that these products normally would have extra charge. The charges you will be getting along with your monthly Amazon bills. There are some AMIs which are shared by community. You can find it out here. We'll talk about more when we talk about Amazon Machine Image separately. For now, let's go to the quick start and create an EC2 instance with Amazon Linux. Amazon Linux is a Linux flavor created by Amazon. It is very useful to start with because it has got a lot of applications pre-installed on that. So I'll select that. Now second step asks me to choose the instance type. In the last video where we talked about various sizes and instance types, this is what we talked about. So if you have already not seen that, go back and see the video where we talk about EC2 instance type. Now if you have a free tier account and you don't want to get charged extra, you would always select T2.micro, which provides you 1 virtual CPU and 1 GB of memory with EBS only as a storage option. It provides you low to moderate network performance. So for your learning purposes, this should be enough. So select it, go to next. This is where a lot of configuration come into the picture. This is where you are specifying that what would be the network in which you are going to install the EC2 instance, what would be the location of the data center, what would be the availability zone. The region, by the way, we have already selected when we just log into our dashboard, and here you can see this is a region. So for me, Mumbai is the region which I have selected. Now you can see here purchasing option. If you want to go for spot instances, click on that and you'll find the existing prices in both the availability zones of Mumbai. You can put your price and you can select that from when to where your request would be valid. So you can put out your price and if an instance would be available, it would be assigned to you and then you can use it. This is what we talked about under our payment option as a spot instances. So I'm not going to select this. Next is network. Now we'll talk about more about network in our VPC section. So here if you have got your own VPC, you can select that. If you have not created your own VPC, then AWS provides you a default VPC in each region. So select a default VPC. Then within a VPC there is a concept of subnets. Each availability zone has one subnet. So here you can select the subnet. Based on this, your availability zone is also getting selected. So for example, here I am going for AP South 1A. You can select, do you want to give a public IP to this or not? And then using IAM role, you can dictate that what this EC2 instance would be capable of. That means what all other AWS services this instance can access. Now again, we'll talk about IAM role in the IAM section, and then this will make more sense. For now, I'm not going to assign it any IAM role. Then you've got shutdown behavior. So in case of shutdown, what do you want? You want to stop it or terminate it. Normally, you'll always keep it on stop. Enable termination protection. Now, I've shown you how to terminate the instances. Though it asks to confirm you that do you really want to terminate it. But again, that's just a click. And if someone accidentally terminates your instance, you are going to lose all your data and all your related resources. So by clicking on Enable Termination Protection, you protect this EC2 instance from any unwanted termination. So I'm going to protect it, though it's optional. Now, though CloudWatch basically monitors your EC2 instance, if you enable enhanced monitoring, detailed monitoring, then the frequency of the monitoring, etc. would increase. If you are using it in enterprises, you might want to go for detailed monitoring by CloudWatch. Having said that, there would be additional charges for this. So I'm not selecting this. Tenancy. This indicates basically what kind of instance you want to go ahead with in terms of whether the hardware would be shared or would be a dedicated one. Remember, we talked about it under payment option. If you have not gone through that, go back to payment options of EC2 and there you will find we have discussed about dedicated host and dedicated instances. You can select any of these. Now T2 Unlimited is one of the features they provided to make your instance more flexible in times of needs. So based on the demand, your CPU or your instance type can burst to the higher level without failing. But having said that, there are again additional charges for that. Similarly, you've got network interfaces, something similar to your NIC cards. I'm going to next. This is where you dictate that how much storage space you need. This is like providing the detail about your internal hard disk. Now since you understand that you have already taken AMI, which is a copy of operating system plus some application, etc. Now on which storage space you are going to install it. So this is your storage volume on which your OS, etc. would be installed. So every instance type would have at least one root volume. The minimum size is dictated by the AMI. For Amazon Linux we need 8 GB, but for example for in Windows instance we need at least 30 GB of storage volume. The volume type is general purpose. However, you can select any of these. The input output per second of your volume is 100 to 3000 in this case. You cannot encrypt root volume. Size of this is 8 GB. You can increase it, make it 10 GB if you want. You can add additional volumes and change the volume type of them as well. So in this volume type, even the non-bootable storage types will come. I'm trying to keep it simple, so I'll just delete the additional one and go ahead on the next step. So this is about tags. Tags are useful for putting a label on your system. So for example, one essential tag could be name. So name is the key and value would be the test server. You can give anything you want. You can add another tag, something like the owner of this EC2 instance is Ashish. Anything like that you can give, which distinguishes this server from any other server. Go to next. Now security groups are basically like your firewall. This controls that what kind of traffic goes out of the instance and what kind of traffic is allowed to come to that EC2 instance. You can create a new security group or you can associate an existing security group. So here I am going to write test security group. You can change the description. Now these are called rules of security group. A rule specifies that what kind of protocol, what kind of traffic from which kind of source is allowed. So here this particular rule means we are allowing traffic coming from any source. So basically it's anywhere to connect to this server using port number 22 and protocol SSH TCP. So by default, every kind of traffic is denied on EC2 instance because of this security group. If you want to allow a particular traffic, you have to provide a rule for that. So add a rule. If I want to allow every kind of traffic, I can select all traffic coming from anywhere. Now this is not a good security rule at all because you are actually allowing every kind of traffic to connect to your instance. But just for the sake of simplicity, I am going ahead with this. Now in the last page, you can review whatever configuration you have provided. If everything looks good, you can go ahead and launch it. Now as a last step, you have to create a new key pair if you are launching it for the first time. If you have already launched something and you have created a key pair, you can reuse that. So for now, I'm going ahead and creating a key pair. So I'm just writing test server key pair. I'll download it. So you can see a .pem file has been downloaded here. This key pair I would need to connect to my EC2 instance. So never lose this particular file. And then I launch instance. And you can click on this instance ID that gets generated here, or you can go ahead and view instances. So it will take some time to launch it. It takes less than 1 minute or even 30 seconds to start. You just refresh it and here you go. It's already running. Though status checks have not yet completed, but you can start trying connecting to this. You can see all the description etc. from this page itself again. You can monitor it. You can find out the tags which you have provided. Now our Amazon Linux EC2 instance is ready to be used. In the next video, we'll see that how to connect to this particular EC2 instance. So see you soon in the next video.